Welcome to today's episode of the Unsolicited Wisdom Podcast. Today I'm going to be interviewing Tilly, Year 12 class, and she's also undergoing the Year 12 project. So let's get right into it. So Tilly, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing for your Class 12 project.
So my name is Tilly Wright. I go to school with Neil, and for my project I did a solo hike for 3 days, and I also facilitated a workshop on outdoor education skills.
So being an outdoor project, have you always been interested in outdoor sort of things? Have you always sort of gravitated towards the outdoors in general?
Yeah, so I grew up in London and I was homeschooled for quite a long period of time. So a lot of my childhood was spent in the outdoors, just adventuring with my mum. My whole life I've had a natural inclination to be outdoors. It's where I feel safe and it's one of my comfort places. So when Year 12 projects came around, I knew that was the thing I wanted to do ultimately.
Because it was quite a long hike. Was there like a challenge you specifically wanted to overcome, or was it more just like an adventure you wanted to do?
Yeah, so my project was inspired by a book I read called Tracks. It's about a lady called Robin Davidson who went on a camel trip across Australia by herself. And when I first read that, that is what originally inspired me to do my solo hike. And I wanted to challenge my fears around being by myself and making independent decisions and just relying on my own actions instead of others as well. So yeah.
Which place did you go to? What was the trail you decided to hike through?
So I did the Scenic Rim Trail in Main Range National Park. It's in southern Queensland. It's a 49-kilometre long trail, I believe. It's a grade 5 trail, meaning that it's a grade 5 trail, meaning that it's for experienced hikers only, and it's in a really remote place where there's no service, and you're mostly not likely to see other people as well. Yeah, and it was also in an area that I had never been to before, so I was really interested in exploring that area a little bit more, and yeah.
While you were on the trail, when you came back, I remember you telling us a pretty harrowing, kind of scary story involving some pigs. What was that like?
So on my second day of my hike, it was actually my birthday, and I had had a really terrible night's sleep, and I woke up and something in me felt like things weren't right. Like that whole morning, I was on edge. I was looking into the bushes. I was just so terrified, and I didn't know why. And then about halfway through, maybe 3/4 through my hike that day, I came into this big clearing, and on the other side of the clearing, there was a wild pig lying on the ground, and I just had no idea what to do. I wasn't prepared for this situation, and I read one thing online about this trail that said there might be wild pigs, just leave the area, don't confront them, don't walk towards them, don't get them to try and move. And I had no other option but to do that, and that's what really spooked me. So in the moment I froze and I didn't know what to do. I was just stuck there. And eventually I just had to say to myself, there is no other way of getting out of this situation. There is only me to rely on. I can't get anyone else to come fix the situation for me. So I ended up having to go towards the pig and try and scare it off. And luckily for me, it wasn't a male pig, which would have been aggressive, or a mother. It was just a lone female, I'm guessing, and it ran off into the bush, which, thank God, because I'm still here today.
All things turned out for the best in the end.
Yeah. So that experience is something that has taken a long time for me to comprehend and to kind of understand as well, because it did really traumatize me, and I had a really hard time speaking about it for a while, so it's good talking about it on here as well.
And because you obviously have this sort of inclination to the outdoors, is there any sort of long-term goals that you want to continue with outdoors sort of adventures or something like that in the future? Is this like a long-term sort of thing to get experience in something?
Yeah, so because of my passion for the outdoors, I always told myself that when I go into finding a career path, I want to do something that I actually really love and not just be in it for the money. So a couple of years ago, I came up with the idea of studying outdoor ed and then becoming an outdoor education instructor. I don't have like a solid idea of what exactly I want to be. I just know that I want to work in outdoors and I want to help educate people and help people have a love for the outdoors like I do as well. So I am currently weighing up either instructing in schools or also being a tour guide as well. Yeah.
Have you been like sort of journaling this process? Has it been like sort of like a personal growth kind of thing as well with the writing?
For my project body, so basically after my experience with the pigs, I actually came out a day early because I just didn't feel safe anymore, and I decided just that I needed to come out, and maybe I could come back to it sometime, or take a break and go back in. So recently I went back and finished my trail, actually just this weekend. And I went back and I took photos on a proper camera. So for my project body, I'm going to make kind of like a photo book and then do little written pieces to accompany the photos, maybe a reflective piece on my journey and little bits of poetry and songwriting and just reflections on my general experience as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be like a really kind of, being such a confronting thing, I bet it would feel like really kind of rewarding to go back and like finish it properly.
Yeah, it felt pretty amazing because for a long time I really hated myself for not finishing, and I really was like, I could have pushed through, like why didn't I just not come out of it, like that was so silly of me. But coming back to the same hike, it just felt right to do it now, and I feel like I've grown so much in the time between then and now.
Then looking back in retrospect, what would you say is like the highlight of your project? What thing stood out to you the most as like the positive?
Honestly, I have a couple of things. I would say that finishing my workshop with a really difficult class at our school was super rewarding because I had a lot of doubts about that day, and I was pretty scared about how it was going to turn out. I was scared that they weren't going to listen to me, but we actually had a really awesome day, and I'm so proud of all the hard work I've put into it. And also just the last weekend when I went and finished my trail, I hiked to the top of this mountain and it just felt perfect. Like everything, it felt like the universe aligned and it felt like it was finally all coming together. And I just felt a feeling of relief that, our project's over, even though I loved the journey of it. And I've learnt so much of it as a result of it. But yeah, definitely going to the top of the mountain and just sitting there and thinking back on how far I've come and how far all of my peers have come as well. Just really amazing, really rewarding as well.
Yeah, it's definitely, for all of us, it's been like such a sort of growing experience. Of like in the other interviews I've done, it's been really cool seeing how people have like changed, how much we've all like developed along the way. It's been really inspiring.
Yeah, it's so interesting because like obviously I know what everyone's doing, but it's such a personal experience that I guess this podcast will help us all understand like what we've all gone through in our individual journeys as well. Yeah.
Is there anything you would do differently in hindsight, or like something you'd tell your younger self to do differently?
I would say just to take my time with things and don't worry about what kind of grade this will get me, and yeah, don't worry about what other people are going to think of my project, and just be in the moment and appreciate the highs and appreciate the lows. Yeah, just live through it, I think.
Yeah.
Take my time, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that leads into like the final question I like to ask, because this podcast I hope is going to be like listened to or used by future classes. If there is one bit, it doesn't have to be one bit, but like the thing you think is most important for other class 12s coming through when they undertake their project, what would you tell them?
Use your project as a way to discover something that you've really wanted to discover for a long time. And don't let your fears or your doubts let you down, and just go for it, honestly. There's nothing to lose, and you might discover something about yourself that you might have never discovered if otherwise. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on today.
All
I really
good.
appreciate it.
No worries.